If you like watching war and action movies, you must be a part of the Vikings fandom, but we're all guilty of imagining how it would be to run a historic empire and be part of an epic battle. So grab your shield and spear and get ready, because today we're gonna talk about how a fight between two of the most feared and powerful empires would play out.
Wait, is this about the Avengers versus Thanos' army?
Unfortunately not, Tommy. For all the Marvel fans, we're only going to talk about actual empires instead of fictional ones. But the Vikings do believe that they're descendants of Odin, so that's a win for the Marvel fans.
So the Vikings are fighting against the Avengers? They don't stand a chance.
No, we're talking about the largest empire ever that conquered all of Asia and much of Europe.
Can you guess who it is?
Well, here's a hint. We're putting two of the most fearsome conquerors of the Middle Ages from completely opposite sides of the world and seeing who would win.
Don't keep me waiting on my toes.
We're talking about the descendants of Genghis Khan and his endless and powerful army called the Mongols. These soldiers were experts in archery, mobility, and amazing strategic skills. The Mongols and the Vikings are two of history's most epic warriors, known for their fearsome raids and military tactics. Under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongols created the largest empire in history. On the other hand, the Vikings, who come from Scandinavia, terrorized Europe with their rage.
Didn't the Vikings and Mongols exist in different times? Are we talking about time travel?
It's called having an imagination, Tommy. Sorry, we're talking about a hypothetical battle between these two armies and how it would all go down.
That sounds exciting.
Now, let's start by finding out the strengths and weaknesses of the two armies. So, we have the Mongols originating from Central Asia. They were nomads, so they had some insane mobility. Their armies were composed of highly skilled horse archers, and they were known for their speed and dedication. The Mongol military had different units, and each unit consisted of at least 10,000 men. These warriors were exceptional horsemen and could ride for days while combating their enemies. Their ability to shoot arrows precisely while riding on horses gave them a huge advantage over everyone else.
The Vikings had crazy combat skills too. I don't know which side to pick.
Well, the Mongols didn't only rely on their physical abilities. One of their biggest strengths was their ability to use psychological and manipulation techniques on their enemies.
Did the Mongols just gaslight their enemies into winning the wars?
They would often lure their enemies and ambush them, and if that didn't work out, they'd use everything in their power to confuse the enemy and attack them where they'd be vulnerable. They'd use every battle they fought as a learning experience to enhance their abilities and strategies. The fact that they could live anywhere and didn't have much need for supplies made them incredibly fearsome.
Damn, here I thought the Vikings were scary.
Well, the Vikings most certainly were scary, Tommy. Let's talk about those Vikings, who come from the Scandinavian region and were known for their seafaring skills. They'd go on their so-called explorations and raid and take over every land they could find.
So they were basically colonizers like all other Europeans.
Really, Tommy? This is not the time. As we were saying, Vikings were experts in technological skills and could survive in both open seas and shallow rivers. They'd often do surprise raids and take over before their enemies even had a chance to defend themselves. Due to living in harsh northern conditions, they were physically tough and full of rage. So let's imagine a scenario where the Mongol Empire and the Viking army encounter each other. The battle could take place in a vast open space, so both armies can show off their strengths.
Let's see who's the boss.
The Mongols would start by engaging in strategic planning in the open terrain so their army could do the dirty work easily. However, since the Vikings were unfamiliar with such a strategy, they'd try to gather themselves near a river or forest so they could use their ships for retreat and take advantage of the natural cover. The Mongol force will consist of over 10,000 horse archers, along with heavy cavalry and engineers. The Viking army could have a total of about 3,000 warriors, accompanied by several of their ships. The war would begin by the Mongols using their horse archers to harass the Viking lines from a distance. The Vikings would form a shield wall, protecting themselves from the arrows while attempting to get closer. When the Mongols realized that they need to get closer to be able to fight off the Vikings, both armies would launch a fierce charge.
I still can't tell who's winning.
Since the Mongols are experts in psychological warfare, they try to draw the Vikings into a trap where they could be surrounded and attack them from all sides. So when the Mongols form a strong circle around Viking forces by using their superior speed and coordination, the Vikings might get overwhelmed and retreat by running towards their ships. If the fight still goes on, the Mongols would use their hit-and-run tactics and save their energy, but the Vikings would go for another approach and try to break up the units by using assault weapons. If these two are in an open terrain, then the Mongols would have a huge upper hand and could wear down the Vikings. But if the Vikings end up forcing the Mongols to come near their ships, the war would soon turn ugly.
So it all comes down to geography.
Yes, Tommy, we're talking about a clash of two very different but equally scary militaries. The Mongols' superior mobility, tactics, and psychological manipulation would likely give them an edge in most scenarios. However, the Vikings' resilience and thirst for blood would make them a challenging opponent.
I can imagine the Vikings trying to fight off the Mongols but failing because the Mongols would simply run away on their horses. Well, that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you think would have won? Like and subscribe for more videos like this. It's Tommy signing off.
Indeed, Tommy. Thanks for watching.